After finding massive success with the Genesis, Sega had momentum on their side when going into the 32-bit era. I mean, the plan should have been simple. Put all your attention on the upcoming Saturn and fill it up with the company's most popular arcade games. But as we neared the handover, Sega began to worry. They were concerned that their loyal Genesis users may not be ready to spend $300 or $400 on new hardware. So, instead of putting all of their attention behind the Saturn, they created this. The Sega 32X, a half-step plugin that was supposed to turn your Genesis into a 32-bit powerhouse. If you know anything about the system wars of the mid-1990s, then you already know that this was a colossal failure. While Sega of America boldly claimed that this add-on would outsell both the Saturn and the PlayStation by a sizable margin, in reality it only sold 800,000 units. A far cry from the 9.26 million the Saturn would end up selling, or the more than 100 million units Sony would be able to move. Yeah, like I said, the 32X was a flop. In just about a year and a half, Sega and its third parties managed to release only 36 games in the United States. Of those games, Electronic Gaming Monthly reviewed 21 of them, and while that's 58% of the library, they did end up missing some real big hitters like Tempo, Primal Rage, and Virtua Racing. But hey, instead of dwelling on the titles EGM didn't review, I want to spend the next few minutes using their words and scores to count down all 21 Sega CD 32X games that they reviewed. Come, join me for a brand new episode of Electronic Gaming Monthly ranks the 32X.
Since the beginning of time, mankind has striven to double and redouble his powers.
A mysterious machine has appeared in homes across America.
All right, baby.
Increase the power of the unit 40 times.
32X.
Welcome to the next level.
You spill your drink? I don't have a drink. Uh-oh.
Up first, at number 21, is Cosmic Carnage. As the first fighting game on the 32X, I'm not at all impressed with it. With an exception to a few special scaling effects, the graphics seem like they could have been done without the 32X adapter. To add to that, the sound is also very close to what it would sound like on the Genesis alone. About the only thing I liked about Cosmic Carnage was the ability to equip the fighters with various armor parts. Number 20, Metalhead. I'm not a big fan of the first-person perspective type of game, and this is a good example of why. The graphics are decent, but the action is boring. I really appreciate the ability to run, but I don't like running around corridors looking for giant polygons to shoot. Also, what's with the headshots? It has a very off-sync face jammering about the missions. The game may be someone else's bag, but I prefer more action and animation. Number 19, Shadow Squadron. Haven't I seen this before? Oh yes, disguised as a Star Wars game of sorts. While Shadow Squadron offers the lovely ability of being able to fly wherever you want, it's still nothing spectacular by any means. Boring, single-color polygons are a thing of the past, but I guess that's what the 32X is happy doing. I like the concept behind the two-player game with one person piloting the craft and the other is the gunner. Overall, Shadow Squadron is only average. Number 18, Corpse Killer. For starters, I can't be too excited about a full-motion video game. Corpse Killer is all eye candy and no play. The majority of the time, you have to move a cursor on the screen and blast the attacking zombies. The cursor is a pain to move around with the Genesis control pad. The Menacer gun isn't much of an improvement. It would have been better if you could use the mouse. It's a rather dull game. Number 17, Zaxxon's Motherbase 2000. Fans of the classic shooter from Sega can rejoice now that Zaxxon's Motherbase 2000 is here. This game is only similar to its predecessor in appearance and looks more like Viewpoint than Zaxxon. I like the look and sound of the game, but that's where I stop liking it. First, you can't even change the altitude like in the old Zaxxon. The only time you can really do that is when you make your ship jump, which is pretty useless most of the time. It's not like the old game. Number 16, Supreme Warrior. I know I've ragged on full motion video games before, but for some reason, I've developed a liking for this game. FMV haters, shoot me now. I think it has something to do with the story that is very much like an old martial arts movie. The story was pretty cool and it kept me interested even though the control was a little unresponsive. Playing with the regular 3-button controller made it even worse, so make sure you have a 6-button controller lying around. Number 15, Slam City with Scottie Pippen. An upgrade to the Genesis version, but there are hardly any changes except for the quality of the full motion video. The game doesn't really change, you must memorize the video and press the right key at the right time. Bystanders and players' comments are comically corny, but it tends to get tired as you keep playing the game. I'm disappointed. Number 14, RBI Baseball 95. I'd rather sit on the bench and give somebody a hot foot or spit sunflower seeds at my teammate than play this game. The game looks good and the many stadium sounds add to the realism of the game, but what it makes up for in sound, it lacks in gameplay and overall fun. I just wasn't motivated to play on after reviewing it. Number 13, WWF Raw. Tap, 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 tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. Win! Despite the enhancements of the sound and the graphics that the 32X can handle, the tapping of the buttons is what this game is based on. There's no point in playing. Plus, the computer is quite hard to beat unless you put the difficulty setting down to 1. Then, maybe you'll have a chance. Yeah, you better indulge in some sugar before you play this, disappointment. Number 12, T-Mek. In T-Mek, the only goal is to destroy as many enemies as possible within the given time limit. You have a choice of 6 mechs, which vary in speed, shield, and weapons, as well as 6 playable fields. The actual game controls fairly well, but it's really stripped down in the conversion from the arcade to the home system use. I would have enjoyed the game much more if they had added a few more options in the transition from the arcade to home to increase the playability. Number 11, Star Wars Arcade. Being a big fan of the movies and action games, I was expecting a little bit more. The scrolling is really good, but the missions can get too repetitive and boring. The 2-player simultaneous mode is a great addition, but there wasn't enough to do. Just shoot TIE fighters over and over. The graphics are decent, but they could have used a bit more texture mapping. Star Wars fans may get into it, but I don't enjoy flight sims.
For those who purchased something other than a Sega Genesis,
Yeah, that's it.
our sincere condolences.
What a waste.
When you start with a Genesis, you can always add a Sega CD. And new Genesis 32X. Everything else is cold and stiff.
Burial or cremation?
Burn it.
Welcome to the next level.
And we're back with number 10, Brutal Unleashed. I wasn't too crazy about the 16-bit version of this game, so understand when I say that the 32X version is only slightly improved. The noticeable upgrades are obvious in the graphics and music, which are very impressive. The thing about Brutal Unleashed that still pulls the score down is the gameplay. It still feels sluggish, and the special attacks seem difficult to pull off. It's still worth a try, though. Number 9, Golf Magazine, 36 Great Holes starring Fred Couples. This game lands in the bunker, and each time I play it, it slides deeper into the sand. The graphics are good, and the 32X engine adds some cool scaling features to the course, but the gameplay is hard to control, and the true feel of playing an actual game of golf just isn't there. Yeah, the programmers at Sega Sports won't stop here until they win the PGA Championship. Number 8, Pitfall, the Mayan adventure. What's the difference between this game and the Genesis version? I really expected to see more from this 32X version. Sure, the game itself is good, but why is it only marginally different from the supposedly inferior Genesis? Anyway, I like the pace of this game. Do what you need to do with the minimum amount of fuss and move on. This is how more video games should be regarding their gameplay. I found no difficulty getting into this one. Number 7, Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Let me start out by saying that the 32X version really hasn't changed much from the original Super Nintendo version. Besides the improved 3D ship polygons, not much else has changed to tap the 32X graphic capabilities. The simulations have good content, but are severely restricted during combat. Manually targeting enemy ships is a chore to accomplish, being hard to precisely aim and fire accurately. This version is improved, but still wasn't what I expected. Number 6, Kolibri. Just when I thought there was nowhere left to go with a shooter, suddenly a hummingbird hops into play. Kolibri is filled with the best possible graphics of birds and insects I've ever seen. It controls fairly well, but the game needs some work, and I hate the cheap deaths when restarting. Wind pressure is also a source of irritation, since it forces you where you don't want to be. There's no mistaking it. Kolibri is the first of a new trend of bird shooters. Wait, let's just forget that I said that last statement. Number 5, Knuckles Chaotix. Well, I'm pleased to see that the 32X is finally getting an action game. Chaotix just doesn't live up to the reputation of previous Sonic games. The levels are average except for the cool bonus stages. Those I liked, but 32X games should be better. The idea behind the second character was very original, but the way it was done slowed the gameplay a bit. The graphics are outstanding and the music is nice, but Chaotix does not set a new standard. Number 4, Virtua Fighter. I'm sorry, but the old looks of Virtua Fighter don't cut it anymore. I may be a bit harsh, but look at what else is out there. Virtua Fighter Remix, Toshinden, Tekken. This does play a bit better and has a ton of options, but the original Virtua Fighter is just too old, especially with Remix being out. For fans of this game, I'd say you'd like it as much or maybe even more than the Saturn version. For this arcade player, this game is a bit tired. This is an excellent version for the system, but it's old. Number 3, Toughman Boxing. Toughman Boxing is working its way up the heavyweight division and delivering the knockout punch that gamers have come to expect from EA Sports. The 32X version has more of the same combinations, enhanced graphics, and awesome punch combinations. Overall, it's a great game from start to finish. Number 2, NBA Jam Tournament Edition. NBA Jam is here to stay. It's practically on every system on the market. I'd wonder if people are getting sick of Jam. But I have to admit that this is the closest translation from the original arcade. The 32X has really shown its true capabilities here with cool scrolling of players. The sounds have improved greatly as well. If you guys are still deciding which one to buy, then think about this one. And finally, EGM's number 1 32X game, Doom. Oh yeah! Hours of fun! Just the thing people need after a rough day. This isn't the PC version, but it still does a great job with the first-person point the weapon and shoot idea. Yeah, this has to be the ultimate stress reliever.
The other day I had the weirdest dream. Everyone was after me, and they all had flaming corn dogs. Then I fell and hit my head. That's when the dream started. I dreamed I was a Sega CD. Everything was so real. I saw words. Then this 32X thing plugged in and things got even more intense. Then I woke up, and everything was okay again.
Hey, thanks for watching us count down EGM's best and worst 32X reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we have a whole playlist full of these episodes, including videos where we look at other systems, as well as franchises like Batman, Sonic the Hedgehog, Castlevania, Resident Evil, and more. You should definitely go and check that out. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite 32X game? Was it one of the ones listed here, or was it something that EGM totally skipped over? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, it's my birthday on Tuesday, so this might be a lighter than normal week. Who knows? I will be doing a catch-up episode of the Nintendo Switch Online Review Crew where we look at 3 Genesis games that I accidentally skipped over. Look for that later in the week. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,